In this lesson, we're going to look at some of the calendar tags that are available to us, which ultimately boil down to basically one tag. What we have in terms of calendar tags is get calendar, calendar week mod, and delete calendar cache. Now, if calendar week mod and delete calendar cache sound a little scary or don't make sense to you, that's okay. I'm not going to walk through the code behind them and why we don't need to use them, but really just to point out that we are not really going to need them at all, and really get calendar is the one that we want to focus on here. So coming back to our list of template tags down under general, we can see a grouping here of calendar week mod, get calendar, and delete calendar cache. And let's come into get calendar. We can see that it has a true false value for initial and a true false value for echo. And if we come down, we can see these are both optional. And I'll just point out that you don't really need to worry about customizing these at this point. So let's just take a look real quick at what this would look like. And again, just like we have in the past, address some scenarios of when you might want to use this and when you might not. So I'm going to start off in my sidebar.php, and just like we have before, we are hard coding in this template tag, which is simply get calendar. So we could see those values there that we don't need, and we'll just come over and check it out on our site now. So coming over to my site, you can see I've got this cool calendar in the corner, and if there are any posts displayed on those dates, then you will be able to click through to them and go to a category archive page for that date. So this is pretty handy, and notice that it has some navigation too, so that you could easily click through it, and notice each time you do, it's just taking you to a category archive page. So depending on whether this is helpful for you or not, this could be a really great tool. Now, something that I want to point out that I mentioned before with the archives and the get archive stuff is that if we come in to customize our site and under widgets, there is a calendar widget. So if I were to add that right here, you would see something that is, these are the exact same things. So this is where we would have to address that situation of, do you want something what's called hard-coded, meaning that someone can't remove it or really edit it from the customizer or admin area, or do you want something that somebody could easily customize? Because if you just want a calendar in the widget area in a sidebar, you could do that with a widget in the sidebar. But if you wanted to hard code a calendar someplace that maybe wasn't there, then that might be a place where you would use this. And behind the scenes, we could assume that the code running this widget here is actually calling the same function that we're using. So this is also an example of how some template tags in WordPress are actually already internally being used in WordPress elsewhere. We could just also reuse them for our own purposes as well. So go ahead, just throw get calendar into a sidebar somewhere so that you could see what it is. Try adding a calendar from the widget area into a widget area and notice that they're the same thing. And then from there, you don't really have to do much unless later on you think that you might have this feature be something that would be helpful for a site. Oh, and I'll just point out that all of this is just a table behind it, so you could really easily style this real nicely with some CSS if you wanted. There are no styles applied here, and you could make it look a lot better. So it doesn't have to look like this. If it is something that is useful, you could tweak it quite a lot with your CSS.